What we're going to do here is talk technique before we really get into the comp. I want to get some basics out of the way first so you know what we're going to be doing. The first thing we need to understand is what a layer mask is. A layer mask is a mask that you apply to a layer that gives you the ability to have non-destructive editing of your images. So I'm going to go ahead and just take the layers here we have. I'm going to rearrange them. Now, unlike you guys, I don't have everything in one document just yet because I want to show you some techniques first so you can understand what we're about to do. In the layer behind this mountain range, I can go ahead and click on this eye here on the top layer. You see that we have some clouds. Now, what if I want to see these clouds in this document? What do? I don't want to erase this blue sky because what if I change my mind? What if I want this sky? Or what if my client wants that sky? So how do I avoid destroying this document? Well, if I come down here in my layers panel, I have this little icon, little rectangle with a circle in it. If I click this, you'll see that I have this mask on top of or next to my image. And the way it works is we can take our brush and choose whatever brush you need. I'll just go ahead and grab a soft brush here. And I can hit D on my keyboard to change my colors back to the default black and white. And if I paint with white, you'll see that nothing happens. Now, why is that? Well, this mask is already white, which means if we paint with white, nothing's really going to happen. If I hit X on my keyboard to bring the black to the front, this gives us the ability to reveal what's behind this layer. And if we're careful enough, and we use a pretty large brush that's pretty fuzzy, we can soften the transition between the two. So I'm going to bring in some of these clouds. I'll even have some coming into the mountains like so. I can leave some of that actual blue in there if I want to. All right, so as you see here, of course I'm using a very soft brush, and this might be too much, but you get the idea. I'm combining these two pictures. And the best part, I can move the other picture. So I can go down to this layer and I can change the position of what I'm seeing here to get the clouds that I want to see in this document. So as you can see, that's awesome. This is how we're going to be doing our blending between all of those pictures. We're going to create layer masks. We're also going to do other things like create adjustment layers. So what in the world is that? Well, let's say, of course, that these two pictures don't exactly match the Arctic cold feeling that we think about when we think about Arctic glaciers and all that kinds of good stuff. Well, I can go to the icon next to the layer mask and click here to create something called an adjustment layer. For example, let's say I choose a hue saturation. This is a non-destructive mask just like this is. What I can do is I can grab this slider, or I can choose a preset, and I can choose what I want to affect. For example, let's say I want to work with the greens. There's too many greens there. And I can go ahead and just take this slider here, and I can change the color of those greens in the picture. I can change the saturation, or whatever I need to. I can also hit this guy here to colorize the entire picture, and I can go ahead and cool it off or heat it up. But of course, it applies quite a bit of color here. So I'm going to go all the way to like a nice cold blue, and I'll accept that. But don't forget, we have a mask here. So I'm going to grab my brush, and I'm going to paint away some of that stuff to reveal the original colors. So even when you use a layer mask, you can still, combine the effects. Now we have this really nice blue here. We have the mountain. And if I go back to white by hitting X, I can get more green on this side if I want to. And I'm creating a really kind of fantasy sky. I can also, believe it or not, paint with gray. Gray will give me a mixture between the white and the black. So I'll go ahead and dial this down to a gray. And I'll get a middle ground. So it's not going to go all the way green, and it's not going to go all the way to the other color. So I've changed the entire scope of this image, and I can hit the eyeball on the adjustment layer to get back to my original. So that's just a quick primer on some of the tools we'll be using. Of course, we're going to be doing more stuff, and we'll talk about those other things as we get going.